Alright guys, welcome to the studio and thanks for tuning in. Today we are going to be working on the FTX DR8. We're going to be doing the diff oils. We've got 30,000 for the front, 100,000 for the centre and 20,000 for the rear. We've also got some hub extenders that are going to bring them wheels out by 15mm either side because we're going to be sticking some other wheels on it. We have got some wheels from our Team Corrali Skeeter. I think they're going to do well on this car, so we're going to open it up. Hopefully it's not too hard to work on. I hear this car is a bit of a pig to work on, but hopefully it's not too much of a big job. So we're going to start off by getting that centre diff out. I think that's going to be the easiest, and the rear is going to be pretty easy, but the front, you've kind of like got to undo the whole front, but we're just going to see how we get on and get it undone. Going to be using my MIP hex bits paired up to my DeWalt impact driver. So let's start off, boys, and see how we get on. And here we go, boys. Undone them 5 screws. Be careful, these, they've got thread lock on, so you want to either give them some heat. Just don't be using Chinese hex bits because you just round them off. And that's pretty much dropped that gearbox out. So take the top cover off, and that should pretty much open it up for us to wangle this bad boy out. And there we go, boys. Centre diff is out. So we'll open that up, see what type kind of grease we got in there, or oil or whatever, and then we'll fill it up with that 100,000. And there we go, boys. Watch you don't ruin that gasket. So we're going to get all them gears out, give them a clean, and then get that 100,000 in there. Just be careful with that gasket, guys. You don't want to be ripping it. So yeah, we'll get all that out, give it a clean, and then we'll fill it up with some fresh oil. There we go. Diff's all cleaned out. Get some of that 100 weight in there. It's really thick, so you need to put it in and then let it sit so it can settle inside the diff. And you want to do it so it's just below them 4 gears. You don't want to fill it to the top because it'll make your diff explode. But yeah, just leave it for a while. Leave it to all settle in there. You can take some out if you've got too much in. But yeah, just let it fill up, boys. And there we go, guys. That's about right for what you want to put in there. So now get your gasket on there, tighten it up. Be careful not to only over tighten it because it is only plastic diff casing. So yeah, just line it up, line your holes up, and screw the bad boy back together. And there we go, boys. That feels a lot better. And there you go, guys. This is the centre done. It feels a tad too loose, but it's easy enough to get out. The main thing is, as long as we get the front and the rear, we can always adjust it. You don't want it too much like of a locked differential because it's not really like a stunt truck, it's more like a runs flat. So yeah, I reckon we'll be all right with that. We'll see how it goes anyway. So now we're going to move on to the rear diff and get that rear diff done. So starting the rear end, these gearboxes are actually in 2 halves. It hasn't got a hatch that comes off the front, so we're going to start by taking the shock tower off. Take the shocks off. So we'll take the shock tower off and do it for one side, and then you can swing it over, and then we're going to take this back off, and then hopefully there'll be 2 screws underneath, and then hopefully that'll come off. And there we go, guys. Hopefully now it's just a case of undoing these 4 bolts, well, the 5 bolts, 1 in the middle, them 2, getting this back hinge pin holder off, and then 2 screws underneath, and that gearbox should come off. Front of the gearbox, front half of the gearbox. Watch you don't lose them little O-rings that are in there. You don't want to lose them, so make sure you put them back in when you're when you've stripped all the back end down, guys. Don't forget to undo the 4 bolts because it's got little locating pins, so the gearbox actually needs to drop. I'm not sure if we've got to take it off totally, but you're not going to be able to pull the back end off because of these locking pins. So undo the 4 and manhandle it off. Bit of a pig to work on this, if I'm honest. And there we go, rear diff out. Let's have a look how much oil is or isn't inside this diff. Oh yeah, boys, look at that. Pretty empty in there, boys. Luckily we changed it, or they would have well burnt out. So put your oil in and then let it settle. And there you go, guys, that's a perfect level of grease. You want it just above the pins. To the pins is kind of like ideal where you want to go. So yeah, get it lined up. We'll get this bad boy screwed back together. Just nip them up with your hand tools so you're not over tightening them. Job's a good one, boys. There you go, guys, all done. There we go, guys. Re-lube your diff. This is what I use, marine grease. Pretty good stuff, pretty thick. Can never have too much grease, so just put a load on your gear and just get it back in the gearbox. Get plenty on there. Don't be shy with the owl lube. There you go, boys. Just stick that back in. When you're putting it back together, guys, make sure you get your diff in the right way round. It goes in that round, and watch out for these little shims. So just get it back in there. Just gently put it in. Get the back end on, and then you're good to go. And there we go, guys. Diff feels super nice now, and now that we've got all that oil in there, we're not going to have any diff failures. Bit of a weird card to work on. Be careful when you're tightening these up, because they will just round off incredibly easy. They're kind of like the kind of bolts you get from China, where you just got to look at them and they round off. And if you round any of these off, because these are under quite a lot of strain, because you go through the gearbox, so be careful. But if you needed to get new ones, you've got to buy a complete diff casing just to get them screws. So yeah, don't ask me how I know. So yeah, kind of car you need to get all your screws in place and then go round, tighten them up. Because if you tighten some up, the way it's kind of like, the way the gearbox is kind of like a clamshell, it clamps together. If you tighten it up, some bolts actually won't go in, and you're just going to round the heads off. So yeah, just go easy. But there's the rear end done. So now we're going to move on to the nightmare that is the front end. Right, guys, so how I'm going to approach this, I'm going to again take the shock tower off. I'm hopefully going to leave the back end and not have to undo all this, but if we can just, I'm not going to dismantle it, I'm just going to kind of like get it out as best I can with taking as little off as possible. So we're going to end up taking the front bumper off, the shock tower off, and then we'll take it from there. You've just got to loosen the gearbox off enough, so if I can just undo enough just to force it out without stripping it, will hopefully it'll give us enough leeway to get that diff out. And there we go, guys. There's all I've undone from the front, basically all the screws at the front. Don't think I've got to remove the shock tower, but then if you can get a bolt under there and lever that out. Like I say, I don't want to be stripping that steering down. And there we go, guys. So yeah, don't have to just take all the steering apart, which is good. We'll get that diff out. Don't forget about them. Well, there's none in the front end. So yeah, I thought those O-rings in the drive cups, but there's not. So yeah, we'll get that diff opened and have a look what type of oil we've got in there. And just like a Kinder Surprise. There we go, guys. Hardly any oil in there whatsoever. So yeah, we'll get that filled up and then we'll get it back in there. Here we go, boys. Don't forget to lube up your diff. All that lube on there, just like you're at one of Diddy's parties. And there we go, guys. All back together. I wouldn't recommend the way I've done it. I'd probably strip the whole end off and get the actual gearbox off. Getting the nuts on the back here is like a proper pain in the ass. But yeah, we've done it. So the only thing left to do now is get these wheel hexes on. So we'll chuck them on and then we'll get the wheels on, and the job will be a good one. And there we go, guys. Here's how we put the extenders on. Before you take your wheel off, just get the Allen key in the middle of the axle, crack that off. That'll free the pin. Take the grub screw out, don't lose it. Undo your wheel nut. One more thing, I'm going to use the original wheel nuts because they've got serrated edges on it. The ones that come with these extenders don't, so yeah, I recommend using the original wheel hubs, wheel nuts. Let's get a 1.5mm hex. Push that pin out. I need to give it a bit of a tap. There we go. Make sure you've got one of them little shim on there. You do get spare ones in the pack. And get your wheel hub, your extended wheel hub. Line it up. Give it a spin till you find the hole. Give it a tap. Put your new wheel on. And when your wheel's on, make sure you put your grub screw in because you don't want to be losing them pins. And there you go, guys. That looks absolutely sick. Only one thing I want to do is I'm going to get another tyre just to go on the back here, just so it looks reet. But yeah, that looks cool. Nice wide stand on it. Only thing left to do is these shocks as well. So if you've got one of these and you know what shock roll to put in, drop a comment down below. But as always, guys, thanks very much for tuning in. See you in the next one. Oh yeah.